Coming up on ATV News.
God does not love one race more than another.
Church leaders broadcast the 190th General Conference, their stern pleas for equality.
I've not had one city official knock on my door and ask if we're okay.
Why one Logan resident's home was filled with sewage.
Preservation in history is so important to our community.
We'll show you why people are working to maintain this historic building.
Flowers are loving the weather this week, but will they survive the weekend? Find out in weather.
Football is back in 2 weeks. I'll show you when other sports are coming back.
All that and more, this is ATV News.
This nation's history of racism is not a happy one, and we must do better.
That was Dallin H. Oak's plea to minimize prejudice at this weekend's conference of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Welcome to this edition of ATV News. I'm Jonathan May.
And I'm Lisa Feinstein. The Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints held their 190th biannual General Conference this weekend. Broadcast from the church's conference center to viewers at home, leaders gave updates like counsel on living in a pandemic and called on members to end acts of racism.
I grieve that our black brothers and sisters during the world over are enduring the pains of racism and prejudice. Today I call upon our members everywhere to lead out in abandoning attitudes and actions of prejudice.
This country should be better in eliminating racism, not only against black Americans, who were most visible in the recent protests, but also against Latinos, Asians, and other groups.
President Nelson also announced 6 new temples to be built in Linden, Utah, Guatemala, Brazil, Bolivia, Vanuatu, and Kiribati.
President Noel Cockett gave an update on how the university is doing in terms of handling the virus. She says we're doing better than any other schools in the country, number-wise.
I believe that we are going to make it. I don't know what make it means. Is that we won't go fully remote, we won't have to shut down the campus, but I think it's even more. We're gonna look back at this period of time and say Utah State did a great job in keeping everybody going, our classes, our activities, our buildings.
Cockett says the university can only enforce what students do on campus in terms of preventive measure, so she urges students to continue it off campus.
The president announced he tested positive for coronavirus. The White House announced the president and the First Lady have both tested positive. 2 White House advisors, 2 campaign managers, and 3 U.S. senators have tested positive as well. The president was flown to Walter Reed Military Hospital for treatment, after 3 days, he's back in the White House. The president is not the only world leader who has tested positive. 9 world leaders have reported tested positive this year. The presidents of Honduras, Brazil, Bolivia, Guatemala are among them. The Prime Minister of the United Kingdom reported testing positive in March and took 6 weeks to recover. Coronavirus cases continue to rise, both locally and nationally. Cache County cases increased by 28 today for a total of 3,053 cases. The state of Utah has 716 new cases, putting us at a total of around 79,000. Nationally, there are 42,553 confirmed cases, taking us to 7 million cases nationally.
The coronavirus has stopped some Catholics from returning to church. A local priest says people can't let fear damage their faith. Catholics go to Mass to receive communion, but coronavirus has made that difficult for some.
We understand that people are still afraid, and that's totally understandable because this is not just about numbers of COVID cases. These are people.
To ensure the safety of the parishioners, the parish allows a max of 50 people inside the church on Sundays. This way, everyone can be spread apart and practice social distancing.
Thanks be to God. we don't have like spike of COVID because of the Catholic Church, because of the activity that we're doing in St. Thomas.
Despite all the precautions, people are staying away, and Father Joshua is worried it's because of fear.
There's a downside to it. That's the downside. The downside is there are also people who are getting lazy with their faith. They just allowed the fear to just overcome them.
One student says people can still hold on to their faith without physically attending church.
Especially with online masses and the theological concept of spiritual communion, I think people are able to still be active, practicing, God-oriented Catholic individuals without coming to Mass in person while the pandemic is still as bad as it currently is.
Father Joshua says he encourages online Mass for those afraid of attending church in person. Jonathan May, ATV News. Sundays used to be a holy day of obligation for Catholics, but the Bishop of Utah says physical attendance is no longer expected.
With the vice presidential debate happening soon, Vice President Pence and Democratic nominee Kamala Harris got to Salt Lake early. People flocked to the streets while police drove in a line waving signs, and the Secret Service escorted Vice President Pence to his destination. His supporters were happy to see him in Utah.
Oh, it's exciting. We're thrilled. We're thrilled to be here.
It's awesome. It's historic, and it's pretty great.
The debate is scheduled for tonight at 7 p.m. in the Kingsbury Hall at the University of Utah.
A Logan extermination truck crashed around 5 p.m. yesterday. The truck was on Canyon Road right by campus when the accident happened. Police closed off part of the road, and towing crews arrived for cleanup. What happens when fresh water and sewer water mix? Not anything good for this Logan resident's home. Last Friday, a freshwater pipeline broke and came into contact with sewer water. This caused an overflow of muddy water in a Logan woman's bathtub, toilet, and other areas of her home. She says she reached out to the city but got no response.
When you really need the city to kick in for you, they don't. They leave you sitting for 2 days with raw sewage in your basement.
Local company ARS at the scene began to clean up the many houses that were affected.
After 4 months, you can now go inside the Logan Library. Logan residents are heading back, and the reopening is due to the low COVID cases in schools. Some library goers enjoy viewing the books in person.
It's definitely nice to be able to go in and just kind of see what's on the shelf.
The Logan Library is open from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. Monday through Friday, and Saturdays from 10 to 2, but will be closed for cleaning from 1 p.m. to 2 p.m. You can still put books on hold online and pick them up at the outdoor checkout as well.
A Cache Valley man organized a rally for freedom. Flags and people lined the curbs of the Cache County Courthouse this weekend for constitutional freedoms. Organizer Kip Zeller says he was inspired to do this after praying and said this is what he can do to make America a better place.
We just see that there's so much hate and division out there that it's really hurting our country. And God is about love. We want everyone to love each other out there and stop arguing.
Zeller plans to hold rallies on the weekends until the election. He welcomes those who feel the same to join in. Coming up on ATV News.
I've seen every Bond film ever made, more than one.
Why Bond fans have to wait even longer to see his newest movie, and...
Oh my gosh, I mean, how could you forgive yourself if it wasn't what you wanted?
Some people thought this event was for the Logan Pride Foundation, but it actually was for future voters. And it's hazy in Cache Valley today. Nathaniel Gillis will give you the 7-day forecast coming up in weather. The current temperature is 81 degrees.
I'm one unlucky guy. The chance of being involved in a robbery is 1 in 757. The chances of being struck by lightning. 1 in 750,000.
Please fasten your seatbelts for unexpected turbulence.
The chances of being a victim in an airline crash? 1 in 29 million. Hey, could I get some peanuts? The chances of being involved in a car crash are far greater than lightning strikes and plane crashes. And if you are texting while driving, your risk of crash increases 23 times. Now, I may be an unlucky guy, but I don't have to be part of that statistic, and neither do you. Drive responsibly.
You'll have to wait even longer to catch the new James Bond movie.
Welcome back. Thanks for staying with us.
James Bond's newest movie, No Time to Die, has been delayed again. But it's more than just Bond fans who will have to wait, as some theaters are closing their doors. The sounds of shooting bullets and racing cars were supposed to fill theaters this fall in James Bond's latest No Time to Die. But studios pushed it from April to November when COVID hit, and now April 2021.
That getting pushed back is really going to put a crunch on the bottom line for a lot of theaters around the world.
Regal Theaters tweeted that because of challenges, they're closing operations on October 8th until further notice. The problem with big theaters like this is they don't make most of their money from selling tickets. They make it by selling stuff like this.
During COVID, people weren't just buying the concessions, they were just coming to their movie with their masks on and just trying to get their movie watched.
Theaters are having trouble filling seats because people started streaming at home.
Our movie theater closed or shut down, and we got a lot of streaming services, so we watch movies at home now.
We barely see movies now in the movie theaters. We usually just use Netflix or Disney Plus.
I just think a lot of businesses are having to change their business model, and so I hope that they can continue to offer something.
What Megaplex is offering is a mix of old and new movies and theater rentals to survive the pandemic.
It's more fun in person because you get to sit in those nice chairs and then get all those snacks.
Movies on the big screen, it doesn't get much better than that.
Reps at Regal Theaters say any rewards and credits that expire while their theaters are closed will be extended if they reopen.
A globally known voter group is back here in Cache Valley. Photos with bubbles supporting local businesses and the opportunity to register to vote were all part of the Wide Awakes event. The Wide Awakes started in the 1860s as an abolitionist group supporting Abraham Lincoln. Organizers brought the group back to encourage educated voting.
I think everybody's trying to make people feel as if their votes don't matter, they don't count, and I think in Utah it's really easy to start to feel that way. But the fact is, everybody needs to vote. We all need to be part of the process.
The Wide Awakes are a wide group that is bipartisan.
Downtown Logan is full of historic buildings. Robinson Miles joins us to take us on a tour of one that highlights Cache Valley's pioneers.
I'm in front of the old post office in downtown Logan. It's been here over 100 years, and people are working to make sure it stays even longer.
Underneath here, we have a cannon.
This cannon is one of the pieces in storage while construction crews remodel the building that houses the Cache Pioneer Museum, also known as the Daughters of Utah Pioneers Museum.
So those are a bunch of historic pioneer chairs and a pioneer doll buggy.
The museum director says even though it might be cheaper to demolish the building and build another, it's important to preserve history.
And it just gives you a real sense of connection to your past when you can preserve a building.
It was the first federal building in Cache Valley when it opened in 1911. Its construction caused controversy. Many thought that Cache County should build its first sewer system before a federal building.
This safe door, though not in use anymore, harkens back to some of the many purposes that this building has had through the years.
And tellers along here for the post office originally.
The safe was used by employees when the federal building opened, and it included a post office.
That was an exterior window.
This empty space in the back of the building is where the courtroom used to be. Its purpose changed when it became the Cache County Hall of Justice in the 1950s.
These stairs, I'm sure, are the original marble stairs.
Remodeling means that the building continues to change, but will still remind people of the past.
Buildings give us a sense of stability, and no matter what changes in this valley, this building will always be here.
This is where construction workers will be building an elevator to make the upper floors more accessible to everyone. In downtown Logan, Robinson Miles, ATV News.
Welcome to this edition of ATV Weather. I'm Nathaniel Gillis. Looking at the national radar, we can see over here in New York, they are having some mild storms right now, maybe some light rain. And it's moving over to Vermont. Over here on the east side of the United States, we can see that there's a lot of low pressure, especially here in Chicago. You can see there's some low pressure, maybe some light rain showers going on. But what we want to focus on right now is down here in Louisiana. So as we can see, there is currently Tropical Storm Delta. It's a Category 4 right now, but as it's moving up the coast, we can see that as about Friday, we're expecting a Category 2 hurricane, which means winds will be up to 110 miles per hour. We really need to look out for this. People might have to evacuate. Louisiana is known to be a little bit lower below sea level. Let's go back to the national radar. Looking over here on the west side of the United States, it's pretty clear. We see some light precipitation here in Colorado. Over here in California, we can see that we're also having some light rain showers. And then up in Washington, just some mild things, low pressure, maybe not too much. Let's go over to the state radar. As we can see here, we also are having some light rain showers. It's going into the fall season, pressure's dropping. It seems to be following just down the highway from Brigham all the way down to Salt Lake City. Let's take a look over at the 7-day forecast. Today, as you saw earlier, it was hazy, so we added this cloud right here, high of 80, and it looks like it maintains that through about Friday. And then right around Sunday, we start to notice some rain showers coming in. It's going to drop down to 49 degrees, and then it's going to, the temperature is going to rise a little bit, going up to 57 by Tuesday. You're all caught up on weather. What's coming up?
They may not have a passion and love, but they all like animals.
Utah has more than just animals during the month of October, and
Josh Davis will show you when to expect to see basketball again, and
blowouts and close games. Josh Davis will catch you up on high school football.
They said I couldn't dream. Called me a piece of trash and swore that's all I'd ever be. Said a bottle couldn't see the ocean. Give up. Go back to the dumpster. But I didn't listen. I made my way. And now, I am what I've always wanted to be.
No doubt you're going places, young lady.
Thank you. And thank you for the interview as well. I can imagine it was the last thing that you wanted to do after such a long campaign meeting.
You really are a very intelligent young woman. You're very smooth.
You're very smooth yourself.
You have no idea.
Sorry, I've got big ideas.
As a college student, you have big ideas to make a big difference on campus. Why not get funding for those ideas in a big way? The Blue Goes Green Grant provides funding for student sustainability projects. These projects help USU students be more environmentally responsible, live healthier, and save money. To find out more, go to usu.edu/BGG. Get funding for your Blue Goes Green idea in a big way. Blue Goes Green. Make a difference.
A potential touchdown stripped away. That wouldn't be the story for this game though, as Skyview would score 6 touchdowns after this miscue and defeat Logan High 42-11. Welcome to ATV Sports, I'm Josh Davis. While that game was a slow burner, there were fireworks literally as Ridgeline took on Green Canyon this week. Leading 17-7 at half, Ridgeline came out with a strong run game, including this big gain from running back Noah White to set up a field goal. Green Canyon stayed persistent, getting to the goal line and punching in this touchdown to bring the Wolves within 6. Ridgeline responded with a deep touchdown to wide open receiver Evan Webb, who had 3 touchdowns on the night, and then going for the surprise 2-point conversion to put them up 28-14. Green Canyon scored again on yet another QB run, but Ridgeline iced the game with this last touchdown pass to Strat Simmons. Final score, Ridgeline 35, Green Canyon 28. Soon, high school won't be the only ones playing football as the Mountain West Conference announced its schedule last Thursday. Aggies are practicing for their first game on October 24th against Boise State in Boise. Their first game of the year will be on Halloween against San Diego State. As it stands right now, they will play 4 home and 4 away games, only playing against conference opponents. Aggie football is back, but when are other sports returning? Men's and women's basketball are planning on a November 25th start. Volleyball, soccer, and cross country, normally fall sports, will look to start in January and play into spring. Athletic Director John Hartwell is excited to bring sports back to the fans.
What's the old saying? Absence makes the heart grow fonder. I think the void that people have had for the last several months of sports has made the desire for their return even stronger.
15 of the 16 Utah State sports will be playing this spring semester for the first time ever. Hartwell says he's excited for the athletes to get back to competing. The Lakers took on the Miami Heat in Game 4 of the NBA Finals. Bam Adebayo scored the first bucket of the night after returning from a Game 3 injury, but the Lakers stayed tight in this one with LeBron James throwing it down on the zone defense before abusing this switch and hitting a deep three-pointer. Jimmy Butler and the Heat kept it close with tough shots like this one off the backboard, and rookie Tyler Hero hit a big fadeaway late in the game to get it within 3. Ultimately, it was Anthony Davis who punctuated the game with this shot.
Drives again, back to Davis. Davis for 3. Bang! Anthony Davis from downtown.
The Lakers won the game 102-96 to take a 3-1 lead in the series. Only one team has come back from a 3-1 deficit to win the finals, and that team was led by LeBron James. You're all caught up on sports. Now back to you, Jonathan.
Thanks, Josh. Zutah Willow Park is celebrating their 50th anniversary. Sam Walker takes us there to see what they are doing differently this year.
Zutah and Willow Park is home to many animals, both local and exotic.
They see animals from other parts of the world that they may never, ever see, and they get to interact with some of those.
The zoo director says their main focus is animal conservation and education, but the zoo's expansion is dependent on the support from the community.
We've added an aviary. We're expanding, doubling the size of our coyote and our emu exhibits this year.
They love the animals. I love to just be outside and enjoy the fall air without being stuck inside.
From feeding ducks to the petting zoo, or even just listening, visitors have plenty of interaction with the animals.
Here at Zutah, you don't only see and interact with the animals, but during October, there's so much more to do.
It's actually more varied and more diverse than it's ever been before.
Pumpkin bowling, crafts, and wearing costumes are only a part of what the zoo has each weekend.
Halloween is always a nice way to mix things up, especially if you've been here before. We thought Boo at the Zoo would be a good time to come. This is kind of just checking off a bucket list item for us.
This is our biggest event of the year. We do get a lot of people that come. The community's great. Our goal is to make impacts in people's lives in a positive way.
Sam Walker, ATV News.
Zootah is open Fridays through Sundays and has Halloween events throughout all of October. The zoo director says all are welcome and there are plenty of activities each weekend.
Coronavirus has changed many of our daily tasks. So how have those who take public transportation adapted? ATV's Ting-Yu Chang talked to bus riders about how the virus has changed their commute.
No, it's just for a school project. Yeah.
Bus, one of the public transportation choices for people who don't have a car.
The bus.
Usually the bus, or I just park up at the top here and walk.
Bus is one of most commonly used transportation, but is it still the same under the influence of pandemic?
There's always a risk there, but I think that there's a good way to protect us too. Being cautious, using masks as needed.
But I think that the school does a good job managing their buses, making sure that you wear a mask and stuff to stay safe. For me personally, my opinion is I don't mind taking the bus because I feel safe on it. Have only because my classes up here are mostly online. That would be the only reason. Other than that, if they were all up here, I'd still use the bus the same
Under
amount of
different
time.
persons' consideration and opinion, we can still see the people at a bus station are less than before. Ting-Yu Chen, ATV News.
The Aggie Shuttle has 8 different routes that run around and near campus. You can download the Aggie Shuttle Tracker app to see which route is closest to you.
Have you been working out less because of the pandemic? Some people are finding new and creative ways to exercise without exposure to the virus.
Row, keep your feet planted, and concentrate. Exercising in the Arc for Westin is a bit different this year.
I'm lost. I used to have this place memorized, and now everything's different.
Spraying his towel after exercising, Westin says there are benefits getting to the gym during the pandemic.
So I think making the gym a priority, it boosts your endorphins, and you get to see people, you get to somewhat human interaction, and you just feel better about yourself.
In order to work out at the Arc, you need to follow the new COVID guidelines. When you're not exercising, you need to be wearing a mask. Machines are distanced about 10 to 12 feet apart, and so should you. And when you're done, it's just good etiquette anyways, you need to wipe down the machine.
I'm obsessed with this music.
Throwing punches in front of his couch, Ryan Jensen exercises from home.
The setup for our at-home workouts, we usually cast from my computer or my wife's computer, and we do something called the daily burn, and we just choose whatever workout looks interesting that day.
As you squeeze Completing workouts at home gives Ryan more time in his day.
So, apart from working out, even commuting to work, it's been so nice working from home. We actually feel like we get a lot more done at work and at home by eliminating driving back and forth to these different places.
Setting up for a 3D fit scan, personal trainer Whitney PETERBORG sees the change in gym culture due to COVID.
Also, I think the thing I miss the most is seeing the smiles on people's faces. But luckily, you can still see it in their eyes.
Eric Price, ATV News.
PETERBORG says due to other facilities having limited hours, the Arc has extended their hours until midnight.
You know, that is great news. That means we have all night to get our workout in.
I'll see you at the gym.
Thanks for joining us on this edition of ATV News. You can find all the latest editions on our Facebook page.
We'll leave you with some shots of Zootah.